All right, everybody, I'd like to welcome you to the Daily Cope. Jesus, I don't even want to put a timestamp on it. It's just been a lot of stuff happening in our government, and we have very little time to get things back in order. And it looks kind of hopeless. If you look at where we rest right now, as far as the economy is not better, the violence issue is not better, the political rhetoric is at a um, high rate right now. So unfortunately, it's I don't have any good news, but what I do have is some information to help you think, let you know that you're not crazy. You see what's going on. But today's topic is going to be related to mostly we're going to look at the voting that happened in this last election and what's coming up in this next election. Um, and to be complete honest, if you look at the polling numbers, it does not look good for the Democratic Party. I want to say the left because progressives don't want to believe that they're included in that, but they are. And I watch a lot of progressive commentators and influencers, and they are almost giddy over the lack of support for the Democratic Party going into this election. And I would love to ask any of them, well, what is the support for your progressive party going into this election? Because when I look at why the left is doing so poorly, is because the messaging of the progressives is what they're being saddled with. And I am so tired of hearing progressives, oh, we have the right issues. You don't have the right issues because everyone knows that the poor needs help. Everyone knows that there are children starving. Everyone knows that we all need health care. And we haven't got them yet. Why? Why do they keep electing the people who say they're not going to do that? I mean, how stupid can you be? It's really, I thought that when all of the progressives who said, oh, Gaza, we can't vote for Kamala because of Gaza, I really thought that you were going to have some sort of, realization after seeing what he's doing to Gaza now and what he has intended for Gaza, why it would be important just not to get Trump in office. And what I hear from a lot of progressives, far left, also saying that, oh yeah, the Democrats are only saying, hey, we're better than Trump. At this point, that's all you can say. I mean, no matter what they say, the progressives are going to say that they are evil and are not doing enough, and as if they're helping their own cause. No one likes progressives. I don't understand why that's so hard to understand. They don't. I mean, I like them as human beings, but I don't care to debate with them because they're just like MAGA. It's a point where you get to where they can't rationalize the nonsense they're saying, and so they just tell you either they most of them they just tell you're evil. It's just that MAGA will say that you're the devil, and progressives will just say that you are heartless and you're a bureaucrat and you're fascist, whatever they want to say or whatever they. But it's gone too far. I'm here from the center to yell out to each side to please shut the fuck up. But we're going to talk about what we have. And what we have here today is we have Donald Trump as the president. Donald Trump as the president, a man who is just a charlatan in every way, a man that cannot keep his word nor tell the truth. And I know you're saying, oh, he's got TDS. Oh, you have no idea.
I'm sick of this motherfucker, man.
I'm going to come here with facts. And what I want to do is I'm going to dedicate my time to disproving all of the nonsense that the right said leading up to this election and why they voted the way they did in this election, and especially the independents, because I'm not going to forget about you guys, because you really are a problem, and you think that you are cool. You have this Fonzarelli air about you because you don't choose. When one party is completely dedicated to the backtrack of any kind of civil rights or equity with minority groups in this country, and you act as if there's ever a chance of them being the lesser of two evils, you, my friend, are an idiot. I can't dress it up. I mean, I would love to talk about it. I don't have any. I don't lose respect for you, lose respect for your vote, but I don't lose respect for you. What you're saying makes absolutely no sense to me, because if you just look at it, not only if let's get past the facade of what most people do, where they look at the face value. What I say to you when I'm standing on a podium and I need your vote, what I say to you, no, it's what you do when you get into office. When you get into office, if you don't vote on issues where you said you felt so strongly about, and you let legislation fall into non-existence when it could address some of the things that you have promised on your campaign trail, or when you refuse to work bipartisanly, you have already forfeited your right to be there, as far as I'm concerned. We're going to use the big papa, Donald Trump, and why I told people leading up to the election that I had no faith in his diplomacy abroad. Because if you look at his actions, both in the first term and in this term going on right now, he is like a bull in a china shop. And I know people say, "Oh, we kind of want that." I don't see how you want that, because a bull in a china shop is what all dictators have been. All those who the world had to stand up to stop. That's what they were, and they all preached the same thing: was for the betterment of their country, their nationality, and it's just not. It's just not. It's not. Let me make this clear. As a human being, I don't feel that America should be doing better than anybody else. I believe America should be doing good. I believe America should be doing great, but I believe not at someone else's expense. And that's what a normal human being would believe. Because why would I have to, if I have to take from you and you're living with less than I have, then I would be the glutton here. And that's what America doesn't get. Gluttony is not wrong because it's a biblical sin. Gluttony is wrong because you take from someone else. This is a world with symbiotic relationships with each and every being on this planet. Everything you do affects somebody else. It's the butterfly effect. We all know. We all saw the movie. So what we do matters, and what the people who speak for us does matters. And anyone who would let a buffoon like Donald Trump speak for them, I have to wonder, what kind of idiot are you?
Little idiots! Idiots!
But that's neither here nor there. We're going to go through all of the agreements that he has canceled and broken since he's been in office. So what I did was I had, Chad GPT make me up a list of all the agreements that he broke, and all of the uh, agreements that he forced renegotiations in. And then I was going to ask it. I was going to say, what were the outcomes of this? And I know you guys love that Chat GPT copium, but I'm not doing that. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to freestyle this. As I look at it, as a regular human being, I can see the outcomes that came as a result of it, and that will come as a result of it. Follow with me, if you will. First, we're going to talk about his pressure on allies and the techniques he used in order to put pressure on them: trade renegotiations and tariffs. Now, the first is NAFTA. Now, when he came into office, NAFTA had been, if I remember correctly, it was put together by Bill Clinton, with Canada and Mexico as our trade partners, to create a symbiotic relationship where there were tariffs, and there also were incentives for certain kind of sales of certain type of items, to keep everybody with everything what they needed. When Trump got into office, of course, being that it was a democratic policy that was created, he screamed and railed about the unfairness of NAFTA and how we were getting cheated. We can't. We have to renegotiate, and if we don't renegotiate, then we're going to put tariffs. We're just going to increase tariffs, which would have been breaking the already, which would have been highly irregular and um, just bad business. But he did it. And they renegotiated to the USMCA, if I remember correctly. The USMCA was the deal that Trump himself negotiated with Canada and Mexico, once again, including tariffs and different incentives and different things in different industries. Um, Now, if you look at, and I would say that's fine, but me personally, when this was going on, I was upset with the fact that these are our two closest trading partners, and you are treating them as if they're just bandits in the night. You are not only disrupting our friendship, you're disrupting their economies that they were not prepared for. I'm going to assume that you were prepared for how it disrupted our economy. I doubt it highly, though. But this is highly irregular, and it's not how allies react. If you wanted to renegotiate it quietly, say, you know what, I think some things are, kind of unfair, fine. But to grandstand about it and talk the way you talk, and let me get this side note in. I don't understand if MAGA or Donald Trump understand that every other country sees what you put on the internet. So when you're talking like fuck them, man, like who cares? We're gonna do this, we're gonna bully them, like even if you were that was the case, we're going to bully them and it doesn't matter what they think. Why would you tell them ahead of time? I mean, that itself is a bad business tactic. If I were them, I'd watch it and be like, okay, I see how he's coming in here, and I would devise a plan to trick the buffoon that was going to sit on the other side of me, which is happening, and we'll get to that. But he just completely disrespected our two major allies, and you know what? They took it on the chin because they're leaders, smart leaders. They're diplomatic. Look it up. What makes it funny about this, and I mean really funny, like irony funny, comedic level funny, movie level funny, is that when he got back into office this time, he railed and complained and said, you know what? We're getting robbed in this deal we made with Canada and Mexico. This USMCA deal is they're robbing us blind. I don't even know how you don't see it. It's Biden's fault. He didn't know, but you negotiated the USMCA out of nowhere. You forced it upon us, or as you would say, foisted it upon us. And now you're saying how horrible of a deal it was, and then you just went to flat across the board tariffs, which is not only once again breaking the agreement that we just signed as a country that you brokered, but it's just bad business. Why would I ever want to do business with somebody like this? Why would I ever want to do business with something like this? Which brings us to the next negotiation that he put pressure on to renegotiate through tariffs, and that was Chorus, the Korean deal with exporting and importing. And the worst thing about that is he also tied it into the military funding that we're giving them, as if we were take it away and withdraw troops and leave them at the hands of North Korea after we got them, like many other countries, to demilitarize on peace. What we did was we got so many countries to demilitarize, and now the Republicans use that as leverage, like gangsters, to say, okay, well, we won't protect you now. Then, like, we don't have agreements in place that say we're going to do this. This is called bad faith. And once again, we aren't the only ones seeing it. The whole world sees this. And they look at us and say, you know what, maybe it's just them, the people in charge. Maybe it's not the people. And then they look online, and we got these MAGA hat wearing morons out there saying, yeah, this is us, out there fucking up the Riders Cup. I've for a long time been understanding of people who vote differently from me, who think differently from me, but it gets hard when it gets this much of a chasm between what we each believe and the basics of human dignity. And then on my side, I'm like, okay, I know I'm humane. And then them on the other side, they think I'm insane. There's a problem there. But so okay, we've broken NAFTA, we've broken USMCA, and we've broken Chorus, right? Broken both those all those deals and made them renegotiate. The 2018 steel and aluminum tariffs he put on the countries. Once again, that affects all the people we get steel and aluminum from. If I remember correctly, it's not. I don't think we get too much from. We get no, we do. I think we get aluminum from Canada. I know we get a lot of steel from China. He started a whole trade war with China. A whole trade war for nothing, for no reason, for no gain. Yes, he got, and I've covered this on my TikTok channel. He got 120 billion, 135 billion in collected tariffs. Yes, that came out of our pockets. Yes, he got that, and then he had to give it to the farmers who were all hurt and devastated by that, by those tariffs. So he created a targeted tariff war with allies, and then put blanket tariffs on China and started a complete tariff war, which only emboldened the BRICS group to then branch out to sell oil to these countries that we were once selling oil to, that were our biggest customers, and they're taking them away. That gave the Chinese the ability to say that America was so screwed up that they were the better bet. And if you look around the world, because of us getting rid of USAID, that's another one that's not even on the list. Him breaking getting rid of USAID broke so many agreements that we had to help feed children, to help stop disease breakouts and stop epidemics. Now, I shouldn't have to say this, but us doing that, not only is it the right thing to do humanely, it's what is called soft power. You've all heard this term before. Soft power is, rather than send the military in there to take someone over, you give them aid so that there's no need to take them over. They're your ally because they remember that you were there when they needed you, and you treat them humanely. You have a humane ally. We have to understand the importance of soft power, the rule of the iron fist, and it kills me because so many Christians push this. You are not God. It is not our job to be the hard fist on anybody, let alone as many people as we are the hard fist on. And then you look at people like Putin, who is obviously a horrible person, and we are a soft, friendly handshake. Why? I would venture to say that for the same reason why we dropped the A bomb on the Japanese and not the Germans. But I digress. So those are the trade agreements. So now let's look at it overall. The problem with the tariffs, the breaking of trade agreements, and the forced renegotiations of trade agreements. The problem is that no one can trust us, and those people then want to find an alternative, and they would shoot their own foot off just to not give you the pleasure of being that aid or being that person that they get it from. They will starve. If you look at what Canada is doing right now, Canada is already gotten rid of. They were our number one purchaser of American whiskey. They do not take our whiskey anymore. Ask Kentucky how they feel about that. If you look at the Canadians in general, they have actually literally made vows, and this wasn't by their politicians. This was by the people online getting together, and in townships and counties getting together and saying, we're not going to buy American items anymore. We don't need them. They're luxuries. America makes nothing that is necessity. Okay, and those things that, like you're saying, but you may say, oh, medicine. Okay, but guess what? Everybody else pays less for that medicine than we do, and it's our product as a nation. Same thing with everything. No one else needs our beef. Matter of fact, people in this is our problem with the EU. The EU refuses to buy our beef because it's not well regulated. You could be eating cows that have mad cow right now, and you wouldn't know because the regulations have been so chopped up by your boy Orange Daddy. So this all just ruined our relationships, ruined all our sales relationships with our individual companies. And if you look at farmers, check out Farmer TikTok, they're telling you they will never get the soybean market back that China had, and that was 40% of their market. And they're going to Brazil and Venezuela and all of those South American countries, and they're also selling them oil too. They're getting a foot in the door, and then they're selling them everything. They're going to box us out. You realize how many things you saw the Chinese TikTok when they showed you their homes. They don't have anything American. Their American imports are TV, basketball, and they make the TVs. And I'm pretty sure they probably make the damn basketballs. America has this illusion that they are the exceptional Americans. You're not. The average American is a doofus, a embarrassing doofus that not only do I not want outside of the house, I don't even want anybody to know you exist.
I'm sick of this motherfucker, man.
It's ridiculous if you look at those Trump rallies. And I don't care if they say, oh, yeah, he connected with those people. Okay, if I tell you intelligence and you don't want to connect with that because you're a dumbass, so you go to connect with the dumbass, I have nothing to say to you.
Little idiots! Idiots!
You don't want to hear facts. You don't want to hear anything. You want to hear God. You want to hear Marvel shit. I'm not trying to do that. I'm going to tell you the truth. And what the truth is that your boy, if you want to talk about diplomacy, and so many people said that about with him and Biden, and him and Kamala. Oh, he would be better diplomatically. Really? How when you look at this? Now that's just the tariffs and the deals that he forced to be pressured on to people, right? That's just that. He also left, and this is funny because they left it off here too. The World Health Organization, which is, do I really need to go into the bad? What bad can come from that? Do I really need to dive into that, or can you just extrapolate from the World Health Organization? Don't you want the world's health to be at least organized? I mean, this is basically an organization where we share information to stop global pandemics and diseases from spreading and even being created. If you look back at Obama's presidency, there was, I believe, 4 breakouts, potential epidemics and pandemics, and they were shut down, corralled, and controlled because they believed the science and they listened to the science and they treated it scientifically, and they cut out and they informed the people as well. They informed the people how to avoid it, how not to get it, how not to get it, and how to be. And they shut down. They tightened regulations on I'm sorry, birds, on chickens and and poultry that we intook in our country, and the same thing with pork. And I don't remember all the other things that happened during like Ebola, and I know there was another one. I can't remember what the other one was, but that's how a president and a administration acts. Not Donald. Donald thought he knew better than everybody and was wrong about everything. And not once did he say, okay, I was wrong. Not once did he say, okay, that was me on that one. Still not to this day. And it's funny they didn't put this on his list. Don't always trust ChatGPT, everybody. All right, also UNESCO, which is another basically multilateral organization that involves a wide variety of global initiatives in order to improve the global society. Don't know much about it. I'm not going to lie to you. If you want to look it up, you can look it up. I'm just saying that he backed out of it. It's something that we had an agreement to be in, and he backed out of it. He also, and this is another thing they don't have on here. He also, if they did not let Putin rejoin it after he was taken out. for humanitarian issues. And his relationship with Putin is a whole nother thing. That's just look at how the guy that is really a threat to people. He is like, oh my gosh, he's just such a baby when it comes to him. Okay, so let's get to the big ones now. These are the withdrawals and complete pullouts. And all right, let me look it over real quick. Oh no, okay, it's up there. Number one, he promised to do this. This is one of his promises he did keep. The Paris Climate Accord. And the reason why he backed out of that climate accord is because then it allowed him to lower the regulations in our country on all types of things that created a lot of pollution and did a lot of damage to this country, not to this country, to this world. So the backing out of that was just really an issue as far as our relationship with the EU, because also part of being in that also lifted a lot of tariffs on our products coming over there, and also allowed um, gave incentives to their markets to purchase our products. But it was also a gesture to say we as a world are responsible for what's going on in this climate and what's going on with the pollution in this world. Regardless of what you think about climate control, pollution is a real thing. We have all seen lakes and creeks be just totally destroyed and decimated by pollution, and not people not upkeeping it, and all types of this disgusting things thrown into the water and into our environments and in our forest. There was no reason for him to back out of the Paris Climate Accord. He only backed out of it because it was one of the biggest initiatives that Obama did, and that of course he wanted to get rid of everything that Obama did. So the next one is the Trans-Pacific Partnership, uh, and that's a multilateral Pacific Trade Pact. And we all know why he backed out of that, so he could throw those tariffs and try to renegotiate individual deals with all of those countries. How is that going? Doesn't look like it's going great at the moment. And that goes back to those how he or how the rest of the world views us now, how he dealt with our allies. The rest of the world right now, and if you don't see it, you're blind. The rest of the world right now is literally creating a structure around the American dollar, and they're going to crush our currency. And America thinks, oh, that's fine. We'll live on our own. We'll be okay. No, you won't. No, you won't. Everything in your house is made in China. Everything. Even your Trump hats and your Trump shirts. And that Trump watch is not made in China. That was too expensive. He made that one in Taiwan or in somewhere in Malaysia. Anyway, the fact that he has no savvy as far as trade is just ridiculous. Well, no, it kind of makes sense because even the countries, his companies that he did have and ran into the ground, they were not international companies. He might have had international investors or international people who came to visit, but they were not international businesses. So he's an idiot for a reason on that one. Now, the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, the JCPOA, also known as the Iran nuclear deal. The Iran nuclear deal was basically that we would lift all the sanctions on Iran if we were allowed to go in there and inspect and make sure they were not proliferating uh, uranium to make nuclear weapons, and not producing any other tools or pieces in the capacities to make nuclear weapons, and not selling nuclear weapons to other countries that may have been our enemies, or other groups that may have been our enemies, or anyone else's enemies for that matter. And that deal was negotiated by Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden, and signed into action by Barack Obama. That's a what they call it, a hat trick right there. He got to chop down a piece of legislation that three people he hated and the right hated at the same time, and they so blindly did it, not thinking about what would come of that. Not to say that Iran did anything as a result of that, but the implications that they made was that Iran started making nuclear weapons. And if you cancel an agreement and put sanctions back on us and froze our funds again, and for no reason, after we did what you asked to do, we held to a deal. I would never trust you again. And any deal we ever have with Iran now will be in complete jeopardy because of what this president has done. And he's made that area more volatile. And he dares to talk about those Abraham Accords that he created. This idiotic piece of paper just to get his name on there so he could try and get the Nobel Peace Prize. It's disgusting. He's such a creep. He's just a creep. It just makes me mad. All right. So he also withdrew from the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty, which is a demilitarizing agreement where they basically denuked, de-armed. They all agreed, if I remember correctly, to get rid of a certain amount of their stockpile of all types of weapons. But him backing out of that just allowed everybody to think, you know what? If we're not doing this anymore, I know they're getting weapons, so I guess we're going to make more weapons too. And now, if you notice globally, people have been producing, and there's a huge military buildup across all countries, even countries you wouldn't even expect. And here's the crazy part about it is that this has been building for a long time, and this was done and profiteered by people far beyond the president of these countries. We before this is that 1%, that global 1% playing around because they wanted to make money. Now they set this up a long time ago, and Donald Trump, being the buffoon he is, he's even ruined it for them because they were expecting to profit off of all this, especially the ones in America, and because of the ill will that those countries have for America, there's deals with, I believe it was France and Australia, to create their own subs, and all in Germany and Australia, a lot of countries in Australia. Australia apparently has, like, they're really putting their foot into the weapons manufacturing. So more power to them. But if you look at it once again, everybody is working around America, and America just has this. Oh, we're number one. We're the best. What's the last war America won? When's the last time we went out there and dominated people that actually weren't like like Palestinians or villagers in the middle of Iran? I mean, what have we really? We didn't do well in Afghanistan for 20 years, did we? No, we did not. Damn sure didn't do well in Iraq. Didn't do well in Vietnam either. Hmm. I digress. But so now we have a whole world building up, militarizing, and grouping up in sections. It looks like a world war is building up. The same one that he threatened that Biden was going to do. And he's going to blame it on Biden. Don't get me wrong, because that's all you people do is blame everything on Biden or Obama, which is hilarious. I mean, there was nobody in between them. No one before. Oh, okay. So that's where that him backing out of that led to the treaty of open skies. That was basically where we had an agreement once again. This is another Obama and Biden agreement that was set up where we would police the skies around Ukraine and that Russian border along all those countries that they have invaded and that they had to let go of out of the USSR. But we would provide uh, intel. We would provide intel to the Ukrainian troops, and he stopped that, and just so we couldn't do it, just so we couldn't help them anymore. And how'd that turn out? He's an idiot. He made nothing. He made the Ukrainian situation worse. Even for the 4 years he was out of office, he made that whole thing worse. And I ask you, he said the whole time that all I got to do is talk to Putin, and I can fix that. As a human, if you really believe that, why would you not just call him and get it settled and get it fixed? And even take the credit. You ain't got to give Biden the credit. Take the credit. But why wouldn't you just fix it while you were not in office? And you said you say you only do things while you're in office just because you want the glory. It should tell you people what this man is about, what he's made of, and what we have got ourselves into. All right, but here's the last one, and it is the UN Human Rights Council. Now, how more poetic than to end on this? The man doesn't believe in human rights. unless it's white people, as you can see with the South African farmers that he brought over here to not farm. Um, but really, what are we doing? The UN is something that we helped spearhead to create an environment so we would never have to deal with what happened in World War One and Two ever again. We did that, and now the man who has taken us away from it, defunded the UN, and taken us out of all other global initiatives to make this a better world. Now, what does it look like is happening? World War Two. Because when you say we're the influence of the world, and people look at us and see us start acting separatist and pulling in as if we're getting on defense, they wonder why shouldn't we do that too? And then when they realize they're stronger than the country next to them, they think, you know what? We might as well get started. We can make ourselves bigger and we don't have to worry about it. So they start spreading out. Like, what's wrong with you people, man? Don't you see? Don't you see what's happening? All you care about is Charlie Kirk. Oh, man. Thanks for listening.